Every February 14th, we're all drowning in a sea of red roses and heart-shaped chocolates. But what if I told you that behind all the fluff, the real story of Valentine's Day is one of bizarre rituals, a rebel priest, and a history that's, well, surprisingly bloody?
This is the big question, isn't it? Is Valentine's Day a genuine celebration of love, or have we all just been tricked into playing along with a massive marketing campaign? To find out, we have to unravel a story that weaves together ancient history, medieval poetry, and modern capitalism. And as you're about to see, the capitalism part, it's huge. That's right, $14 billion. That's how much Americans spend on this one single day. It's an insane amount of money, and it really makes you wonder how a holiday supposedly about love and affection turned into such a commercial juggernaut. But here's the twist. The story of Valentine's Day doesn't begin with a marketing team. It begins with something far more ancient and a lot weirder. To find the real roots of February 14th, we have to go all the way back to ancient Rome, where the themes weren't love and romance, but fertility, violence, and a Christian rebellion against a very powerful emperor.
So, in ancient Rome, mid-February was a time of two clashing traditions. On one side, you have the pagan festival of Lupercalia, a wild and frankly bizarre fertility ritual. We're talking animal sacrifices and men running through the streets, literally slapping women with bloody strips of goatskin to supposedly make them more fertile. Yeah. And on the other side, you have the quiet beginnings of a story about a Christian saint who dared to defy the most powerful empire in the world.
This is where the Christian side of the story begins, with a man named Valentine. The scene is set by the Roman Emperor Claudius II, a guy who was obsessed with having a huge army. He had a theory. Marriage made his soldiers weak and sentimental. So, he made a pretty extreme call: no more marriage for young soldiers. And with that one decision, he accidentally created the perfect conditions for a rebellion. And this is where our hero enters. Now, Valentine was a common name, and historical records point to several martyrs by that name, but the most enduring legend is about a priest who saw the emperor's ban as completely unjust. He believed in the sanctity of marriage and decided to take a huge risk by performing secret wedding ceremonies for young couples. Of course, a secret like that couldn't last forever. Claudius found out about Valentine's defiance, and the priest was thrown in jail and sentenced to death. But even in his final days, the story goes the young couples he had married would visit him, passing notes and flowers through the bars of his cell. And then, on the night before he was executed, on February 14th, he wrote one last letter to the jailer's daughter. He signed it with 3 simple words that would echo through history: "From your Valentine." For about 1,000 years, St. Valentine's Day was just a minor religious feast day. The connection to romantic love as we know it didn't exist yet. That all changed in the 14th century, not because of a saint, but because of a poet. This one line from the English poet Geoffrey Chaucer changed everything. In his poem Parliament of Fowls, he connected St. Valentine's Day to the idea of courtly love, a kind of idealized, chivalrous romance. He painted this picture of birds choosing their mates on this exact day. It was a complete fabrication, a poetic fantasy, but the idea was so romantic that it spread like wildfire. Inspired by Chaucer's poem, the European nobility started a new trend, writing romantic letters and poems to their sweethearts around mid-February. These became the world's first Valentines, and for a long time it was a tradition reserved for the rich and educated. You know, the oldest Valentine that still exists today was written way back in 1415 by Charles, Duke of Orleans. He wrote it to his wife from his prison cell in the Tower of London. From there, the tradition slowly trickled down through the centuries, even getting a nod from Shakespeare. By the time of Queen Victoria, it was a well-established custom. But these were still handmade, personal messages. The next chapter in our story is when Valentine's Day went from a personal tradition to a global industry.
The Industrial Revolution arrived, and with it came mass production. Entrepreneurs saw a golden opportunity to turn this poetic tradition of personal letters into a highly profitable commercial holiday. The age of the corporate Cupid had officially begun.
So, how did this happen? It was kind of like a two-pronged attack. First, the Cadbury Chocolate Company started selling their chocolates in these beautifully decorated, heart-shaped boxes that were meant to be kept as mementos. Then, in America, a company called Hallmark saw an opportunity. They started mass-producing affordable Valentine cards, making the tradition accessible to everyone. And they were smart about it. Their ads specifically targeted women, creating social pressure for men to prove their love with a card and a gift. And the result of this corporate Cupid? Well, the numbers are just staggering. In the US alone, we're talking about 180 million roses, 36 million heart-shaped boxes of candy, and billions of dollars in spending. The commercial blueprint was a massive success, and it cemented Valentine's Day as one of the biggest shopping events of the year.
So here we are today. The holiday is a global phenomenon, but it's not without its critics and controversies. Its journey from pagan ritual to commercial giant has left it with a very complicated legacy.
The backlash against Valentine's Day is global. Some countries, like Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, have even banned public celebrations, viewing it as a corrupting Western influence. But the criticism isn't just modern. In the Victorian era, there was this twisted version of the tradition called vinegar Valentines. Instead of love notes, people would anonymously send these cards filled with insults to their enemies. A pretty brutal way to celebrate the holiday of love, right?
For some religious critics, the problem is simple. Corporations have stolen the holiday. They argue that the original point of St. Valentine, to celebrate and promote marriage, has been completely lost. Now, they say, it's just a day that creates a ton of social pressure and pushes a shallow, commercialized idea of what love is supposed to be.
And as if the story wasn't complicated enough, even the origin of the heart symbol is a mystery. There are two main theories. The first is that it's based on the seed pod of an ancient plant called silphium, which was used as a form of birth control, and became so popular it was literally farmed into extinction. The second theory is that it's just a bad drawing, a medieval attempt to sketch the human heart based on descriptions from the philosopher Aristotle. Whatever the truth is, the story of the heart symbol is just as messy as the holiday itself.
Which brings us back to our original question. When you give or receive a Valentine, what are you really taking part in? Are you honoring a rebel priest who died for the cause of marriage? Are you celebrating a poetic idea about love born in the Middle Ages? Or are you simply a customer in a brilliant century-old marketing campaign? The answer, it seems, is all of the above.